Hey everybody, it's Gallant and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're taking a break from the drafts to hop into some Historic Brawl. Wizards is doing a week-long Historic Brawl queue on Magic Arena to test out how much interest there is in the format, to see if they can get maybe a Historic Brawl free queue alongside the regular Brawl free queue. So I wanted to make at least one video of Historic Brawl this week to show my support for the format. I definitely want it to stay as an additional free queue, as it is my favorite format on Arena. It's the closest you can get to Commander on Arena, since on Arena, unfortunately, there is no way to do more than 1v1 matches currently. The program is just not designed for that, but I would love to see them put a lot of effort towards that. I think playing a 4-player Commander game on Arena could be super, super fun, because on Magic Online, the way that Magic Online works is you're basically always in full control mode, so there's a lot of ways that in a 4-player game, the game goes incredibly long, and there's just so many triggers and stuff to deal with that it can get quite tedious, and I think Arena solves a lot of those issues incredibly well. And of course, you've got the friends list and everything on Arena to try to get your games going, so I really hope they could do that at some point, but I know that that is a lot of work on the back end. So Historic Brawl is definitely the best we have for now in terms of a Commander light experience. So I just want to show my support for that format. So the deck that I'm going to be showing off today is Emiel the Blessed. 4 mana for a 4/4 unicorn from Jumpstart. For 3 mana, you exile a creature you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So Emiel is really good at getting enters the battlefield and leaves the battlefield abilities to loop, and also quite good at getting +1/+1 counters on your stuff. For 1 additional mana, you can put a +1/+1 counter on your stuff whenever it enters the battlefield. So this deck is heavily focused around just enter the battlefield effects in general. Pretty much every creature in this deck has an enter the battlefield effect, except just like Leafkin Druid, just some of the mana ramp cards like Llanowar Elves and Leafkin Druid. But yeah, this deck is all about having tons and tons of creatures. As you can see, basically every card in this deck is a creature. I think literally every card. And we're just trying to go wide with a lot of enter the battlefield effects, getting a lot of value really quickly, and then winning the game with something like Ridge Scale Tusker, putting a counter on all of our stuff, or God Eternal Ronus, doubling all of our powers, some kind of big late game plays to send in with our gigantic team of creatures. So really fun deck to play, and we're going to see how well it does in the Historic Brawl queues. Now, if you're not particularly a fan of Historic Brawl, I would still definitely hop into the queues until at least you get your 1 win. You do get a mystery cosmetic, which can be... I got a random card style, but since it just says mystery cosmetic, period, I think it could be like a random card style or a random sleeve or really just any cosmetic. So it's definitely nice to get some value out of the free play queue for Historic Brawl as well. Whereas in regular Brawl right now, it's just a normal play queue. You don't really get anything for it outside of your daily and weekly wins. So here we are against Akiri, Fearless Voyager. Akiri is kind of an equipment-based deck, which is pretty neat. Let's see. I'll definitely keep this. This has some pretty great ramp, Llanowar Elves and Overgrown Battlements on turn 1 and 2. Ramp into Lena, and then try to God Eternal Ronus for the win after that. Opponent starts with a Shadow Spear. So Akiri says whenever they attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, they get to draw a card. She's also a 3 mana 3/3, and for 1 mana they can unattach an equipment from something to give it indestructible until end of turn. And our opponent is off to a very threatening start with Swiftblade Vindicator. Putting any equipment onto that is a huge game with that double strike. So I'm going to drop Overgrown Battlement and this Gilded Goose we just drew. But it's looking like I'm going to take 4 this turn. They can suit the Swiftblade Vindicator up with their Shadow Spear. Send in with a 2/2 double strike, lifelink, trample, vigilance. Maul of the Skyclaves. I might die really quickly here. This deck is not particularly interactive, so if our opponent is just a really fast deck like this, where it's the kind of thing where I need a removal spell or I die, I'm going to have a huge issue with this kind of deck because I just don't have that many removal spells. Let's see. Doesn't have lifelink yet, at least, but as soon as they put lifelink on there, that's going to be a big issue as well. I think Lena's the biggest thing I can do here, but then they know I'm tapped out. Still gonna just go for it here. Opponent has 3 cards in hand, Akiri in the command zone, and Shadow Spear on the board. With what we know that we have in hand, all they really need to do is equip that Shadow Spear and get running, and it's not really a way for them to lose at that point. They're going to deal 8 to us this turn and gain 8 life, go up to 33. But they may have other cards they're tempted to play in case I have removal or something. They do play Akiri. That allows them to unequip the equipment on the Swiftblade Vindicator to give it indestructible. Does cost 1 white to do that, though. They also get to draw cards off the attacks now, too. Alright, go to my turn. I don't think that God Eternal Aronis is nearly enough right now. Bunch of 2/1s, a 6/3, and a 2/1. They block the 6/3 and take 10 if they don't block anything else, and they can block one of those pretty much freely. I'm gonna roll with Master Splicer here. Again, I don't think it really matters. This Vindicator is just holding me off very well. Core Blade Master. Now it's got double strike. Good thing for us, that's not actually a thing. They throw the Shadow Spear onto Akiri. Interesting. Well, I guess we're gonna kill Akiri here then. Using Lena's ability to give our smaller creatures indestructible, so our 1/1s just eat up that Akiri. We are down to 3. So we're dead in 1 more swing from the Swiftblade Vindicator. Just a land here. Not what we're looking for, that's pretty much going to be it. Yep, that'll be the concession. hop into another round here. See if we can play against a more mid-rangey deck. Definitely our worst matchup is any combo-y shenanigans. Like those were somewhat combo-y aggro shenanigans. Of just present the one creature I really need to deal with a targeted removal spell when my deck does not have targeted removal spells. Alright, let's see what we got here. I'll keep this. Definitely need to hit more lands, but we've still got an Overgrown Battlement to ramp us up to 3 mana at least. So only need to hit 1 land to get our commander out. Or Master Splicer. Our opponent is on Tazri, Beacon of Unity. She's a 5-color party commander. So this should be an interesting matchup for sure. We'll see what they've got going on. Got the Sahili sleeves. Starting off with Lazav. And Lazav is not a part of a party. At least not alone. I'm about to play Rishkar, so I don't think I actually want that land. Because Rishkar is going to turn every single one of my creatures into a mana dork. So Lazav for X mana can become a copy of any creature in their graveyard that costs X mana. So that is the big utility of Lazav. I have 6 mana now. Could play Emiel into like Daxos. In that case, I'd rather just play Daxos first. I guess I can't play both of them because they're both double white and these all only tap for green. I could play Pollenbright Druid and Emiel. Suppose we'll do that. I think I'd rather just put a counter on the Druid so that I can tap for a green rather than turning Rishkar into a 4/4 and Grazer into a 2/4. Just because they have that 1/3 flying Death Touch lifelink over there. Ooh, Lena. Lena is quite nice. Again, don't have enough white mana to do a ton here. If I do that, I've got 3 mana left over, so I can play Daxos and Master Splicer. Let's go for that, I guess. Next turn we drop Lena, and then we get to attack with pretty much everybody. And there's a concession from our opponent. I guess the field is just going too wide for them. Or I'm playing a little bit too slow for their tastes in the Historic Brawl queue. If that is the case, my apologies, but let's head into round 3 here. You do have a ton of options in the Emiel deck when you've got that much mana, and you gotta choose whether or not to put +1/+1 counters on things and all of that. So now we're up against Niv-Mizzet Reborn, another 5-color deck. I think I'm just gonna crack a Fabled Passage for a Plains turn 1 here, so that I can double white for Daxos on turn 2 if I want to, and that also gives me the double white I need for Forbidding Spirit. Alright, they're just gonna play tapped land. Let's grab a Plains. I think I want to start out with ramp here. Start with Leafkin Druid. So I can just get Emiel out immediately. Chromatic Lantern from our opponent. That makes it so all of their lands can tap for any color, making their mana pretty much perfect now. Got 4 mana here, so I can go Daxos and Servant of the Conduit. Now I have 4 creatures for Leafkin Druid to tap for 2. If our opponent does not drop a Languish or Wrath of God style effect, I think we're in a really good position to just start bashing in. All right. I'm going to play the Forbidding Spirit to get more White Devotion out for Reverent Hoplite, if our opponent does not wrath us here. And then I have 3 mana after this. I could Rejuvenator or Charming Prince. I think I'm going to Charming Prince and scry 2. Since I'm going to Charming Prince, I can use that mana here. Could also use the Prince to bounce the Servant of the Conduit and get more energy. That seems unnecessary. I'm going to scry 2. Make sure that we're drawing into non-lands in case they wrath us. And we'll attack for 6, put them down to 15. If they don't wrath us here, Reverent Hoplite will be incredibly cute. They do wrath us. Move Emiel back to the command zone. I'll start with Elvish Rejuvenator here, I think, because I'm gonna need to pick up a bunch of lands again, get our mana back. Opponent does get to just slam down Niv-Mizzet now. Hydroid Krasis instead, though. Draw a bunch of cards, gain a bunch of life. Drop Rishkar, counter on both of these, now they both tap for mana. Death Sprout on the Rishkar to prevent the mana. Now we're just stuck with a 2/2 on board. Pretty sure we just lose now, since they wrathed us. Because this is definitely a value kind of deck. All of their cards are like do something and draw a card. With Hydroid Krasis, Uro, Niv-Mizzet, when they play Niv-Mizzet, they're going to draw like 5 cards. Yeah, I'd say probably like 5 cards because they're going to hit a bunch of lands. I'm just going to scoop them up. I don't want to really sit here and watch my opponent draw their whole deck. Yeah, we're just not going to get anywhere there. Let's head into one last round here, see if we can't even out the record. 2 wins, 2 losses. Alright, looks like we're against a Cleric's deck. Don't remember that card's name, but it is the white-black legendary Cleric from Zendikar. This hand's really awkward. We can only cast Daxos. I'm going to have to take the mulligan here. It's not how I would like to end the video. but Brawl does give you the one free mulligan, so at least we only had to get rid of one card there to hit both our colors. I'm going to start off with a Wall of Blossoms to draw a card, and then Lena Visionary to draw a card and tap for mana. So their commander makes it so whenever their clerics die, they get cheaper clerics from their graveyard to their hand. Wow, that's kind of a crazy arena-only card that they made. They made a Johnny's Chosen, but for clerics. That's actually sick. It does start with one less power and toughness, but still seems really good. Just because of the relevant creature types as a human cleric now. Could play Emiel. I think I can hold off here, just use a Rejuvenator and a Charming Prince for a lot of ramp, because if we get more mana, we can start reusing Enter the Battlefield effects a ton for a lot of value. That was a really bad luck off of the second Rejuvenator hit. Definitely blows to not hit a land. Opponent drops down Birth of Maladis. Well, Marauding Blight Priest is going to put a clock on us, even if they aren't attacking ever. They are going to attack with the Hallowed Priest. I guess I'll block with Charming Prince. That's our most expendable creature. We don't even really want to redo the ETB effects of that. So I could drop Emiel and double up Enter the Battlefield effect, or I can just drop Lena, get a bunch of chump blockers, and then next turn try to duplicate her Enter the Battlefield effects. That seems a little better. No attacks. We're probably at the point we can chump block with Rejuvenator, but I mean, we might as well chump block with a 1/1 soldier token over anything else. Down to 21. Murderous Rider on Lena. I may as well give my stuff indestructible. And then it doesn't have a legal target, so it goes to the grave. And I just get a free pass there. So it sucks not to be able to have Lena here, but that's okay. I can try to do the thing with Reverent Hoplite instead. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. 8 mana is not quite enough for Hoplite and Ranger of Eos. I'm gonna Ranger of Eos just because I don't even remember really what 1 mana cards are in my deck, so I'd like to see. There's some options for sure. I think we'd like a Soul Warden. Seems good against their deck. And good with our deck. And then I could take some mana ramp, either the Goose or the Elves. Guess I'll take the Goose. Now I can play the Druid. I'm just going to hold off on the Druid until it actually does anything impressive. Not a real reason with how big my board is right now to throw a single counter onto something. Demon's Disciple, so we'll have to sacrifice one of our 1/1s. This is going to be a long game to end this video. Both of us are going to gain a ton of life until they can kill my Soul Warden. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. I do have enough to cast Emiel and then Hoplite to get 2 more soldiers off of the first trigger, which is pretty good. Gains me more life, which is really important. And Fabled Passage is really nice here. That means I don't even have to sacrifice my food token to do that. Unless I want to put a +1/+1 counter on Hoplite, but that seems pretty pointless. I think at this point I can send in Ranger of Eos. I guess they can just block it with their 1/4. Yeah, it seems pointless. That would just be them making a trade if they wanted something in their graveyard, like if they have Thwart the Grave. This game is ridiculous. Oh my god. All of the triggers on the stack all the time. Goes to our turn, and they're just gonna scoop them up because they know I can start bouncing the Hoplite and gaining a ton of life because we assembled the combo there. So the way that would work is, because I had 9 mana now, I could exile the Hoplite. It would come back, I think, at the end step. Oh no, it comes back immediately with Emiel? Oh yeah. Yeah, that was about time to concede then. Because yeah, I untap with 9 mana, exile Hoplite and return it to the battlefield, get 5 more 1/1s, gain 5 life. I do that 2 more times, because 9 mana, I could do it 3 times total. I would gain 15 life and get 15 1/1 soldiers, and I could just keep doing that every turn until they dealt with Emiel or the Hoplite, and if they chose to deal with Emiel, I could recast it from the command zone at this point, thanks to my 9 mana. So, those are some of the really powerful things that Emiel allows. So ideally, the best way to play that would be to just use the ability during your opponent's end step, because you can use it at any time. That way, if they did draw the removal for the Reverent Hoplite, we could choose to exile the Reverent Hoplite in response to save it from the removal spell. So it puts our opponent into a really bad position where the only viable way to use their removal would be to use it on Emiel, and if they use it on Emiel, we still have more than enough mana to just cast him again next turn. Plus, if we wait till their end step, we could also decide, maybe I need some 1/1s right now, maybe I want another land, maybe I want to draw another card. Any enter the battlefield effect we've got on the board, we can choose to redo. So really nice, really versatile card if you can get a bunch of creatures on the board and keep them on the board. But as you could see from the games that we lost against that Boros deck, the deck is pretty slow and it's not very interactive. It's not good at shutting off whatever your opponent is doing. And as you could see against the Niv-Mizzet deck, because the deck relies so heavily on you having multiple enter the battlefield effects on the battlefield and tons of creatures on the battlefield, wrath effects are also quite powerful against it. So those are the biggest issues. It's pretty slow and it loses to wraths a lot, but luckily for me, Historic Brawl is not a competitive format, which is one of the reasons that I really like it, and I really like Commander. I don't really like getting too competitive unless I'm playing Limited, and even in Limited, not incredibly competitive. But yeah, I really like the casual constructed formats. So, that was my Emiel the Blessed Historic Brawl deck. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you're enjoying Historic Brawl in general. Definitely give it some plays this week. Show Wizards that there is interest in this format, because I definitely would like it to stay around. I think that would be very cool. But with that out of the way, as always, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching another video on my channel. If you want to help me out, just stick around right where you're at, like, comment, subscribe, all of the YouTube goodies, and I will see you again for more Magic Arena content tomorrow.